Welcome, welcome. Wherever you are, whenever you are, if you're watching this live, it's an absolute honor to
Yeah,
have you
got
with
it.
us.
We're live.
Oh, there's the
All
volume
right.
kicking in on
Well,
Facebook. But yeah, if you're watching the recording, drop it in the chat on Facebook or on YouTube where you're watching and wherever you're tuning in from. And if you're live with us this evening, thank you so much for giving us your time tonight. Seriously, your time is, I believe, the most valuable thing that you have. And so that's why a lot of us are here. We're here in the pursuit of freedom, mostly through financial freedom, but really behind that, we're in pursuit of time freedom, really. And so, if you've never met me before, if you're here for the first time and someone invited you, my name's Ty Stevenson. I'm based in Auckland, New Zealand. And I got started here almost 2 years ago. I've got a burning desire to lead as many people into freedom as I can. And so with that, my wife and I, we got married in 2012. We sold everything we had, went over to California for 3 years to really go to a school of personal development, to just get ourselves as free and healthy and healed as we could, and studied a whole lot of leadership and coaching while we were there as well. And came back to New Zealand in 2015 and have been basically serving at my parents' church ever since. And but yeah, like I said, 2 years ago, it was time for a shift. And so I started to launch in this space, just bringing like-minded people together who want to create that freedom for themselves. And so just checking who's texting me. We're good. But yeah, so in the midst of that, guys, I've just got a huge passion for these three essential things, really: freedom, influence, and transformation. And that FIT stands for the Fit Life. So freedom, when I talk about freedom, I'm talking about, freedom from the inside out: spirit, mind, body, and therefore eventually pocket. There's no level of abundance that you can step into that you're not already in harmony with internally. And so that's a part of this journey. I know most of you showed up here probably because you want to get your money right, but you'll realize as you get into this space that 95% of this financial journey and freedom is actually all mindset orientated. And I've heard others say that life is 90% mindset and maybe 5 to 10% strategy. So yeah, we're here to get our money right, but you're going to get a whole lot more along the way. So freedom, number one. Influence, to me, really just stands for leadership. We've all got a measure of leadership, whether we're, whoever we're able to lead and really just be a good example wherever we go. Some of us, I believe, have got a higher leadership calling than we're really honest with. And I think the challenge for you might be to step up and start to lead those around you, start to lead your family, and start to really take charge of who God's called you to be and those he's called you to lead and run with. So FIT, T stands for transformation. As we naturally begin to lead others wherever we go, we begin to create a better environment wherever we go, and therefore bring some transformation. So whatever that looks like for you, it might look a little different from the person next to you, but just embracing that journey of growth and really becoming the best version of yourself. So drop a freedom in the chat if that resonates with you. I want to drop just 3 words that our mentor Alex Morton shared with us a few months ago when he did a Zoom for us. He talked about the 3 Ds to success. And first off, to even just define success, a lot of us have different definitions, but I love Earl Nightingale's. He said success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And so whatever that is for you, I don't believe success is necessarily a car or a house or something physical, but it's that progression and growth towards that which I believe God has for you. I believe he's got an incredible future for your life. And as long as you're embracing that growth journey, you're moving in the right direction towards becoming better. I believe that is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And so for you, that's going to look very different again to the person next to you, but just being intentional about you stepping into the fullness of your potential. And so, with that, these 3 Ds for success, number one, there are 3 Ds. And so number one is desire. You have got to first up have a burning desire to improve your current situation. If you are completely okay and you're comfortable and you're all right with the status quo, then you're probably just not going to accelerate and change in a hurry. But you need to have a burning desire for whatever that progressive realization is that you're pursuing. And that could be a burning desire to see improvements in your family life, in your parenting, in your marriage, in your work, in your influence, in your leadership, whatever that is. But firstly, you need to have a burning desire. It might be a burning desire to just no longer have to go and grind at a job or on the tools. I was an electrician once upon a time and I did not enjoy it. There were aspects of it that were okay, but for the most part, I wasn't excited about crawling under houses or in ceilings. So I had a burning desire to get out of that and get into something else where I believe I could help people in a greater way. So number one, burning desire, you've got to have that. Number two, you need to have a direction. You need to have a clear path and clarity of vision for where you're actually heading in life. And so once you've got that, I know for me, I actually struggled for a long time, unaware of what the heck I could do to get myself off the tools or get myself to where I felt like I needed to be. And so once you're able to get clarity of your vision and clarity of direction, then the next D is decision. You just need to decide. Once you've got that clarity, that I believe clarity provides confidence. And once you have that clarity, you then have the confidence to stomp the gas and just pursue with everything that you've got and go all in on becoming becoming not just the best version of yourself, but then being able to lead others in that same direction. So like I said, desire, burning desire, direction, and decision. Those are the 3Ds that just, really simply, you can put that on the side and think about later. But really the bigger context of what we're up to here, guys, I know you probably weren't expecting this when you showed up to learn about how to multiply your money, but you've got to realize that who you're becoming, I believe, is actually far more important potentially than what you're doing, because there's a much bigger story of your life that's taking place. And as you begin to grow in character and leadership and gifting and all that you have, wherever you go, there you are. And so whatever you put yourself to, whether it be work or whatever you share and talk about with people, that person that is being, crafted, the level of character that you're growing in, that's a really, really big deal. And you're going to find that when you get face to face with the charts and you start dealing with finance, you're going to come face to face with where you're at in life, and just you're going to realize like how patient or impatient you are, how impulsive you might be, whether or not you didn't know this, but you may have gambling tendencies, because we're here to follow the rules in a methodical way to compound our money. And so with that comes a high amount of personal development. And just to let you know that our community, our culture is obsessed with that. We're really on a growth mission to become the best versions of ourselves so that we can see that show up in our finances and our time freedom as well. So just a few little bits and pieces. Love it. I can see some people tuning in from Canada. I bet you that's Annabelle. So good to have you with us. And just catching up on who's here in the chat. And wow, there we go. Full house. Sheesh. I just look at the participants and it tripled while I was talking. So welcome. So honored to have you with us this evening. So guys, I want to get myself out of the way and transition this evening. But before I do that, maybe just to give you a reference for where we're up to right now. So you're joining us if you're here for the first time in the middle of something. So we've got a large team of about 150 plus, students who we're all learning together how to, compound our money, how to invest, how to trade, how to grow as individuals. And so we had a lot of new students join us a month back. So we thought, Michael Jacobsen and I, we've been going hard at this for quite a while now. Michael's been in this industry for 20 plus years. You're going to hear from him very soon. But we wanted to 10x our efforts this year to 10x our team's results. And so we've done 3-day boot camps in the past, but right now you're actually stepping into the middle of a 30-day one. So we said, you know what, we're going to show up 4 nights a week, 3 maybe on the odd week, and just for a case of 30 days, just bring as much value and clarity and demonstrate what this education looks like. On the side of the education we already have access to, we want to show you in a live setting what it looks like to start doing this and applying these skill sets. And so, with that, we've had about 10 sessions already, but we thought we'd open up tonight, tomorrow night, just to really just give you guys a window into what we're up to. We've got another whole week and a half in front of us still going. And if you want to find out more information on that, we've got recordings of all of it, and we can help you if you want to look into it more. But tonight, our main mission is to just help you, if you're brand new, start to understand what it looks like to step into the world of compounding your money through the markets, because it's an incredible opportunity once you get your head around it. And initially, everyone's got questions, everyone's got stereotypes, but once you start to apply yourself and you start to learn, you realize, wow, this is actually really achievable. Like, I mean, in the last, we've been going for about 3 weeks in this boot camp, but in the first 2 weeks, a massive shout out to Major and Lisa. They doubled their account in the first couple of weeks of doing this with us in this boot camp. Other people felt confident enough to go live for the first time and place their first 2 trades, and I believe the first 2 were winning ones as well. So it's been really fun, especially having Michael come on and demonstrate in a live environment what it looks like to place a trade, reasons to wait, reasons to enter, reasons to adjust a stop loss, and all that fun stuff that you'll get to learn more about. But really just creating an environment for you to step in and see what it looks like, so that then you can decide, like, with clarity, is this the direction that I want to go in? Is this the community I want to run with? And if it's not with us and it's not here, then we wish you all the best. And we just, again, thank you so much for your time. But I want to stop waffling, get myself out of the way, and bring up someone who I believe has got so much value to bring tonight. So those of us in our team know him well, and we're so privileged to learn from him. But, while I'm finding you on the side amongst this giant list of participants, Mike, I've got to find you and pin you here. But guys, really, like, Michael is an incredible individual. Like I said, he's been in the space for 20 plus years. He was a part of another online trading university. He was the vice president of education there, where he wrote curriculum and helped with students. And he decided to pivot over and join us here just over a year ago because of the culture, because of the model, and because of how much more accessible it was to start the journey here. And so, Mike used to charge $5,000 plus US dollars to train people and teach them how to trade across about a 3-month mentorship phase. And I looked at that initially, his model and where he was, and I saw people doing it, and I was personally just a little bit sad because I couldn't afford to get into that. But yeah, coming full circle, joining us here, our team has exploded through, having him on board with us and the value he gives us constantly in our team chat, and just the way that he's taken on, bringing this strategy to the forefront for us to learn. This bootcamp that we're doing is actually centered around a particular trading strategy that someone has developed for us from Canada, and people are winning with it. And so the guy who developed it, you're going to hear more about him later. His name's Jay Bonham. He showed up as a student here 3 years ago, learned for himself how to do this, got so good at it that he began to form his own strategy, started to teach other people. Eventually, he helped around 1,000+ people. He had them showing up on Zoom, trading with him in the mornings. And as of about 2-3 weeks ago, he's become an official educator with the platform that we've partnered with. So, we're teaching you something tonight that is proven, it's tested, thousands of individuals all over the world are running with it. And so Mike's been taking us through that layer by layer by layer. And so tonight, tomorrow night, we're going to show you a few pieces of that at an entry level tonight. And then tomorrow, we've got something very special for you. We're going to show you what it looks like to set up your own account, how to trade with on demo, and something called the gate system, which is a profound way to compound your money in a hurry. So all that being said, Mike, I want to add you here. There we go, man. Bro, it's so good to have you with us. It is an absolute honor. Guys, drop in the chat if you can see him and drop some love there. Hopefully I just pinned you correctly and you're there front and center. But Mike, once again, man, thank you so much for your time, throughout this boot camp and this evening. We really, really value it, man. You're a man with so much experience in the space, huge amount of character. And it's a real honor to call you a friend and to partner with you in this space. And yeah, man. So for tonight, I want to give you the floor and say, take us away. And everyone else, I want to encourage you to get your notepads ready to receive value. And if you have any questions, we'll deal with those at the end. But for now, Mike, I want to give you the floor and say thank you.
Awesome, Ty. Thanks. That's very kind. And yeah, thanks for being here tonight. It's amazing to see so many people here. It just shows the hunger there is for people to want to learn a new skill set and, excuse me, pick up something new and fresh. Now, for those of you who've been following our bootcamp for the last 2 weeks, we have just had an amazing trade pop off right now. Let me share my screen, Ty.
Oh, come on.
And for those of you who've been watching, we just had a signal just as Ty began speaking tonight. See, here's our entry. And then I'm just going to briefly introduce myself while this trade is happening. Here's our entry, buy signal right here. Notice that we had a double bottom playing out. Okay, for those of you who've already been doing double bottom, cross, and there's our entry. We're currently up almost $1,000, and we have a 2-to-1 raw to risk. So there's our risk right there, and we're currently sitting about 2-to-1. So if we fail to break above there, I'm going to take this profit out. So there you go, 2-to-1. I'm risking 1 to make 2. I'm risking $100 to make 200, or I'm risking 1,000 to make 2,000, or 500 to make 1,000, whatever you like. But we're risking 2 to make 1. So we are tonight going to have another look at support and resistance. And the first place we're going to look at taking out profit is at this high, because this is where price paused initially. So this was about an hour ago. Price came up. Notice that it bounced all the way into this area that we call resistance, or we call it also a ceiling, and it bounced off there and collapsed down. So I just want to let you know we're in a live trade right now. If I just remove these, I'm not going to remove these lines, but you will see we have a little blue arrow there. That's a buy signal on our indicator, and that tells us this is a buy opportunity. So I'm going to get myself out of the way there, and we are bouncing right up into the area now. So I'm just going to go over this trade. Let's watch it because it is happening live. We're up almost 1,300. And then we're going to have a look at some of the theory that underpins some of the strategy. Notice that we've also broken this trend line. So price moves within certain structures. It doesn't move in a straight line. It moves within structures. And as you can see, when we have price respecting a certain trend line, once it breaks that and violates that, it tends to explode higher in the opposite direction. So I'm just going to see what happens when price comes up and touches this horizontal line. But while I'm watching that on my other screens, I'm also going to talk about support and resistance. Now, when we look at the market, and in fact, this indicator we're using with all these squiggly lines, that's an indicator that helps us understand what price is doing. So it's derived off the market itself. It's derived off price action. And I can just come up into this corner here and just hide it for now so we can see the naked price. Now, what we're looking at here, this could be the price of butter. It could be the price of Bitcoin. It could be the price of lamb chops. but we're looking at the price of one of the stock markets. And as we look at any price, we can see that it has areas where it respects price over and over and over. And if I just simply show this area of price that occurred on Friday, you'll notice very, very clearly we have these two strong points here. Notice that price came up, rejected very strongly, and sold straight back down. And so when we talk about resistance, we talk about a price or price zone that price has respected in the past. There's a lot of people watching it. There's a lot of people who are willing to sell this particular asset at this level. And what happens when price comes up to that level again? It gets rejected again, because that is an area where people are willing to sell this particular asset. And sure enough, price reverses back down again. And this is what we call resistance. This is a price zone that has been respected in the past and has a high degree of probability that it will be respected again in the future. And so if we look at our current trade where we are right now, we currently have two areas right above us that have those characteristics. Here's the first one right here, and the other one is the high up here. Notice how price is respected twice. And we like to talk about support and resistance. So support will be underneath us if price is coming down. Resistance will be above us. Resistance or support is like a place where price will make a decision. Now, you might say, why did I choose to buy right here? Well, if we simply just remove these circles, you can see that price found a floor down here. Look at this, 1, 2, 3 bounces, and the fourth bounce failed to get down there. So price has rejected this buy zone, and here's price moving up right now. We're up almost 1,500. I'm going to move my stop up to just above break even. We now can't lose any money. And look, it rejects it. So I'm going to take out my profit there. That's 3-1, and that's 1,600. So let's look at our trade entry was right there. We had 5 pip stop. We took out our profit right there, and it was about 2.5-1. All right, so successful trade. That was awesome. Hopefully we get another one. That happened a bit earlier than I expected. But hey, awesome illustration. So that is taken out, and we've finished work for the day. But notice how price respected this low point down here. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. That's telling us that the sellers have come to an end. Now notice that since the afternoon, price has been selling off, selling off, selling off. But this, now that we see that price has found a floor, we know that that sell-off is probably pausing. And so the indicator gives us clues as to when price is possibly turning around and when a new trend is beginning. And, you know, if I just illustrate for you what a trend looks like, the market never moves in a straight line. No investment moves in a straight line. You might have some investment going like this. Buyers will come in with interest, push the price up. And as the price goes up, they make a profit. So they sell, price comes back down. And then more buyers get in and it goes higher and then it comes down. So over time, you can see market moves in waves. And so over time, these particular waves develop a trend. And what we want to learn to do is catch these trends, be on the right side of these trends. And when we can buy in the correct places, this is when we do not have to risk a lot to make a lot. We can risk a little to make a lot. So for example, here, if I was buying to the top of this trend, I can be risking 1 to make 6.7. So I'm risking $100 to make 670. 7-to-1 reward to risk. And so the strategy that we use, and here's price absolutely exploding up now. Let me still live, our students, if any of you are live in this trade, let me know in the chat. But it's clear now that we have the beginning of a trend. Now, this particular website is called TradingView. This is a free trading platform, tradingview.com. You can change it to anything you like. You can trade Bitcoin, and we can see right now that Bitcoin is just coming down, not a lot of action right now. We can look at the British pound versus the US dollar. We can see that it's exploding up. So the selling has finished right now for the pound. It's come to an end and a new trend is beginning. So we are trading what we call the NASDAQ tonight, or it's one of the stock markets in the United States. So these areas of resistance above us, they tell us where price is going to make a decision. And it's the same on the downside. When we come to a place of support, that is where price is probably pausing and making a decision about what direction to go into next. You missed that entry, Selena. That's okay. Pretty close. Jeff is live. He's 30. Anyone else long there? Awesome trade. So what we're going to do now is we are going to just delete some of these lines, and notice that with our indicator here, which is what Jay Bonham, the creator of this strategy, has constructed for us. We have these green lines, these horizontal green lines above price and horizontal red lines below price. And for those of you who might find it difficult to actually identify where price is making a high or where price is making a low, the indicator draws these lines on the charts to show us where these areas of resistance and support are. So if we are looking to get into a trade, obviously there's a number of conditions that we need to have met. One is that we need to break above resistance. And for those of our students, you'll see that down here, we had some interim resistance where price was unable to break higher. As it broke higher, we then got a close above that and we had our signal. And that was our entry to get into the trade. Now we are free to fly. Now there is no resistance to price moving straight up. And that's what we want. We want us to move straight in our favor. And the less amount of time we are in the market, the less risk our capital is at. The longer you're in the market, the more risk your capital is. And so what we want is to get low risk and high reward. So what we have on this indicator, which helps us identify support and resistance, is extra conditions which give us confidence to enter a trade. If we look above us, so for example, my entry was down here on the blue signal. If I look above me, there is a long way before I get to that green line. So that gives me confidence. I can hold position for longer. I chose to get up quickly because $1,600 in about 15 minutes is it's a good wage. I chose to get up quickly. And because I'm teaching as well, I want to concentrate on what I'm doing, what I'm saying without watching it. But it helps us to know, is there any resistance above us? And so if we look to the left, and that's what we're all saying, look to the left. What has price done in the past? Well, it's paused here and it's paused here. So there's a strong degree of probability that it'll pause at either of these levels again. And because this up here is the high of the day, we have this nice green marker here, which lets us know that is the most important level of the day. So if we enter down here, we can put in our reward to risk, and we can say, okay, I'm willing to risk 10 pips, and the closest resistance is 30 pips away. So I'm making almost 0.7 to 1. If you went to the top, and if you had a 10 pip stop, my stop was a bit smaller. And the stop position is an automatic order, which means if I am wrong, and if my analysis is incorrect, and price does come down, I will only incur a small loss. So my losses are regulated by my risk management. But if I'm correct and price does come up to this green line or somewhere in this zone, then I'm making 2.7 to 1. So a lot of our traders, we encourage them, look, you want to risk 1% to make 2% or risk 2% to make 4% a trade. You want either 2 to 1 or slightly more than 2 to 1. So even if you lose 2 times in a row, 1 win will bring you back to break even. Yes, possible pullback, Lisa, to 238, absolutely correct. Notice our students, we also have a super trade going on here as well, and that's why price pulled up so quickly. And notice We are bouncing right off the 230 moving average at the moment. So at the moment, this trend is still intact. This is a 1 minute chart, but let's just go to a 3 minute chart. And now we have a super trade on the 3 minute chart for our students here. So we can see that price has clearly broken this market structure. This trend line has been resisting price and basically keeping price in check. It's a dynamic resistance, which means it moves, but price has been trapped below this trend line for the last 5 hours. So you have all this energy that's been pent up, and now on the first day of the week for the United Kingdom, price is exploding higher. All that energy is now being released. And so we want to identify, okay, the top is where the green line is. That's our possible resistance. As you can see, we had the red line indicating we had some support at the bottom, and then we had our buy signal. And so price is moving up. We can come out to a 50-minute chart, and our students will be able to understand that we're getting a bit of a turnaround in the trend there. But let's just zoom out and see if we can identify support and resistance on a higher time frame. So let's go out to a 15-minute chart. In fact, let's go out to a 60-minute chart. I'm just going to change my time up in the top corner to 1 hour. And now we can look at what the stock market has been doing for the past few months. Now, what we're going to do is zoom out and zoom out. And what I'm going to do is put a couple of lines in. And as I put these lines in, you're going to see what I mean by support and resistance. If we look back here on December, which is about 3 months ago, we had a significant high in the market. Now, what you'll notice is that price spiked up to that high and rejected it very strongly, immediate. Now, that tells us that area is of extreme importance to the larger players. That is an area we want to mark in the future. Now, this happened back in December the 13th. The price is 12,217. So in the future, that is going to be a price or price zone that price will gravitate to or respect again. So as we fast forward into the future, look what happened a month later. Rejection from that same level. Why? Because it's an area of resistance. That was on the 27th of January, exactly a month ago. Now let's fast forward. What happened 2 weeks later? Price broke through that resistance here, and that resistance now turned into support. So that ceiling now became a floor. It's like if you could shoot up through the ceiling now and land, you might land on the roof outside your house. Price broke through. What used to be resistance has now become support, and now becomes a platform for our next move higher. What happens? Price comes down again and respects it again. Let me just move these lines so we can see it. Price respects that level over and over and over. And so when we can learn to identify support and resistance, this is where we determine the power of reward relative to our risk. Now, you've probably heard it, you need to risk a lot to make a lot. It's not true. In trading, it's important to learn how to risk a little to make a lot, because what we can do is we can look above us and we can say, okay, if this is a place we want to buy, if it's a platform where price is going to bounce from, where was price respected as a ceiling? Okay, well, it was respected here. It was respected here and here. And we can even say here. So these 4 times, you can see that price has come up and rejected from. So we want to buy from the floor. So let's say we managed to find a buy signal in there. Let's put our reward to risk tool in. We could probably get a buy in there somewhere. We're going to have our risk parameters just below the low. This protects our position in case we're wrong. And look, price goes up. And which one does it go into? It goes right into this one here, where price sold off, just shy of it. So if you held your position up into that resistance, you're making almost 7.5 to 1. You're risking 100 to make 730. That's the power of learning to identify support and resistance. Now, it came down and bounced off the level again. And once we get a big sell-off like this, this tells us we're probably not going to get the same thing repeated because there's a lot of selling here. So this is one we can buy, but we would not hold it as long as this one because of the intensity of the sell-off. Okay, it's basically straight down over about a day. It's too fast. And sure enough, whoops, now price breaks through that level. In fact, it tests it one more time and then breaks through. But now that support becomes resistance again. Look at that. 3 days later, we get a rejection, we got a sell signal, and then we ride that trend down. So on a higher time frame, that's what we're looking at. That's where you learn how to trade successfully or invest successfully. These are the areas you either want to be buying at or selling at, depending on what side of the price zone you are at. Now, let's go down to a lower time frame, and I'll show you something exactly where we are now. Now, if we look back over the past few weeks, what areas of the chart would stand out to you? Well, it's very obvious. This should stand out to you. Huge, big drop and an immediate reversal. Let's put a line on there. Now, why did price do that there? Well, that's what it did 2 days before. It rejected there. But let's go back in time. Was this a place where price respected in the past? Let's look to the left. Let's look to the left. Let's zoom back. Wow. That is where we got a huge bounce about 3 weeks prior on the 1st of January. And look how high that went. And let's go back a bit further. We can see that this is a price zone that is very, very important to the larger players, or I should say the banks. Look at this. It rejects it over. Every so often it breaks through it and comes back. When it breaks through it, it runs. And then finally, this was where we got the huge bounce from. So let's come to today. Well, in fact, let's look at last week first. We got these 2 bounces. Then we broke through very, very strongly here. And then look what happened. We came back and we retested it. And then we have just broken back above it now. Let's have a look at it. We broke above it at the open, reject, and now we've just broken above it again. So the probabilities are that we could be moving a lot higher because we have now rejected it again. So when we understand how the price moves from this perspective, and when we get this sort of context of what we are buying and selling, it really helps us make very, very good decisions based on reward to risk analysis. Now, as you learn to identify these, you can zone in on any area of the chart and say, look, I can see price respected this area 1, 2, 3, 4 times over 2 days. So is that a place you would want to be selling at or buying at? Put a B in the chat if it's where you want to buy. Put an S if it's where you would want to sell. Would it be a buy or sell from this area? Exactly. It's a place of resistance. Price is struggling to break through that. And sure enough, we get a break of a trend line. The market structure is broken and we get a vicious downtrend. So now let's turn on our indicator and see if we had a sell signal there. Yes, we did. There's our red arrow. There's our sell signal. So we get a breakthrough, we get a confirmation, and then we get a sell and price falls off a cliff. And so from that area, let's put in our reward to risk. If we have a standard 25 pip stop there, even if we take it to the previous support, which is down here, you can see the red line. Here's our support zone. That's where price was rejected from the previous day. Even if we ran this trade down to that support region, we're looking at 4 to 1. And that trade began at 16:45, and you held that one for about 9 or 10 hours, but you made 4 to 1. So if you risk 1%, you made 4% of your account, which is pretty good. If you held that for the next day, because you identified that the context was a long downtrend, notice that price has been coming down very strongly. It's a lot of selling, buying with the green candles and then selling, bit of a correction. And then once we break this yellow line, remember, this is the key support line. Once we break it again, we come up, have a quick retest, and then we've struggled to hold that level, price just collapses. The sellers just dive in. If we held that to the bottom, we're looking at making about 11 to 1, 10.78 to 1. So when we learn to identify this support and resistance, when we look to the left of our chart and see what price has been doing in the past, it helps us make more informed decisions for the future. And when we get a break of market structure, like we get a break of a trend line, which has been supporting price, and then a break through a key level, that's when you get the sellers start to jump in again. You can look back here on last week. Notice how price made a triple bottom here. Rejection, rejection, rejection. That obviously means it's a place where buyers are interested in buying up this particular asset or investment. Look at those rejections there. What happens after the final one? We get a move higher into Friday. And then sure enough, we come down, whoops, and we reject that same level again. So we always want to look to the left, and we want to understand what price has been doing. That should be a little bit lower right there. Are we going to hold this level now? We'll find out. Nothing is certain. Look, we're just peaking below it now. Let's see if we can hold above these moving averages. And the moving averages help us identify if this trend is going to continue or not. What will happen is price will move away from the mean and it will revert to the mean, move away from the mean and revert to the mean. But if we have a number of sellers that are going into the market, then price could roll over. So at the moment, we were expecting price to get up to this green line. But at the moment, the market is reconsidering its position. It might simply be consolidating its gains for now, and we might get a further pop higher. But as I showed you before, once we are in profit, we minimize our risk by moving our stop loss up. And in fact, you saw me take out my profit there. This thing is currently just waiting for the next round of buyers to jump in. Now, 20 minutes time, we have the London Open. And when that happens, we tend to get a bit of action where price begins to run in one or two directions. We'll either see a lot of buyers or sellers jump into the market. But support and resistance is probably the most significant way of understanding where price is going to go, because it helps us identify who is in control, the buyers or the sellers. And that's what you need to know. There's a psychology behind trading that is super important to learn. For example, if we look at this level that I pointed out before, because price rejected from here so fast, we can see clearly the sellers are in control. And so once we make that pullback, there is no way we want to buy. We only want to be selling in this region. Likewise here, once we reject that high and get a pullback, we only want to be sellers because we understand that there are more sellers in the market than buyers. Same as back here. Price was rejected very strongly from this level. That tells us the sellers are in control. And once we see that pullback, and for those of you who understand already, big bearish engulfing candle, once we get that pullback and confirmation, we do not want to buy here. We only want to sell. What happens? The sellers step in and they just sell the market all the way down. And we make our daily goal in about 3 minutes or so. All right, so I am just going to go back here, and it looks like price is breaking out of that consolidation and the buyers are starting to move back in. So price has moved back to the averages and now it is breaking higher again. That's a good sign. Notice that it's rejected this averages. We have a bullish engulfing. That is a nice entry there if you have a type stop. And we are still looking at this stage for price to move up into this green line somewhere in that zone. Let me just see if I've missed any questions. So key thing when we're looking at trading is identify support and resistance. And how do we do that? It's very simple. Look to the left. We need to look to the left and see what price has done in the past, where price has been respected from in the past. Mark those levels, because in the future, here's price moving up now, just like I said, in the future, price will often respect those same levels over and over and over. Here we go, big push up now. Now remember that price rejected from this previous high about 20 minutes ago. That's going to be the first place price has to get through, because that's where price was rejected. Then we're going to be moving up to the high of the day, which is back here. Something else for traders to notice is that we have just broken through the 12,000 level. Okay, I'm just going to mark that here. 12, thought I marked it right there. 12,000. So for traders, the 000 and the 00 numbers are very, very big psychological numbers. A lot of big trades are made at that level. That's possibly why we had a big war in this region here for price. But now price has failed to get back below that 12,000 number. It's a very, very significant number. 10,000, 11,000, 12,000. We call them big figures. That is where a lot of banks make huge trades. There's a lot of money. It's hundreds of billions of dollars being traded on this market. And that's often where they will enter their positions. So the fact that we have broken above that and failed to get below it is a good sign, at least for now. Now that could change in 17 minutes when the market opens. We could see some volatility, which means the market could do a bit of craziness like this. But right now, the market is definitely bullishly constructive. All right, so we want to identify support and resistance by looking to the left and seeing where price has been respected from in the past. So what we can do now is I'm going to go out to a daily chart. And if we look at this chart, I'm just going to minimize the indicator. This is what price has been doing over the past 2 years. This is what price has been doing. And so this was the absolute top of the stock market in December 21. Now, let's have a look at what COVID did. And this will help you understand support and resistance. Okay, COVID was the largest market crash in history. Now, when a lot of people watched this, they were absolutely terrified because the market went down 32%. 32%. It is the largest drop in history. Maybe not in percentage terms, but in monetary value. Okay. But when this was happening, there was a lot of fear in the market. But because people who know how to trade and look to the left and have learned these principles, because they know these things, when the fear was coming in and people were panic selling, they were buying. Why? Because look at the exact bottom of COVID. This is March 2020. Where did the bottom of the stock market stop? Right at support. This was the previous low from a year before. Right there and this region here. Price basically dipped below that support, took all of the liquidity there and reversed. So by simply learning to understand support and resistance, if you knew this, you were not selling here at the height and climax of all the fear, you were buying. And that's why Bill Ackman, he made one of the greatest trades of all time. He made, I think, $3 billion by selling this market and then $5 billion by buying it within about 5 months. One of the greatest trades of all time. So to be a successful trader, you don't follow the crowd. You don't do what the talking heads are saying. You do what the market is telling you. This was a floor. Price was always going to bounce from here, as it does with every market crash. And that's been the bottom for the last 2 years. So support and resistance is amazing when you begin to understand it. Let's just have a look at this one here. Let's come back up and look at the first place of the crash back in 2022. Where did it stop? At support. Where did the next one stop? Well, it bounced. Here's our previous support back in March. Broke through, bounced up, broke through, bounced up. It was, so it's not exact price, but it's a zone. Where did the sell-off stop? Oops. We put a line in. Here's your first high, resistance, sell-off, price came up again. A lot of people were buying, thinking the market was going to move higher. No, it's resistance, sell, collapse. Now, the beauty about being a trader rather than investor is that if you are an investor and the market falls 30%, you lose 30%. If you're a trader, if the market falls, you can sell at the top. And when the price goes down, you can buy it back on the cheap and pocket the difference. That's the beauty of trading. If you're a trader, you make money in any market conditions, whether the bottom's dropping out of the market, all hell is breaking loose, and you know the leader of your country has been assassinated, there's war, you can still make money. And that's the beauty of learning to trade, and especially identifying these key support zones. How did we know the bottom of the stock market was in at the beginning of this year? Simple, support. We were buyers right here. Why? Because price had been supported twice 4 months earlier. So we were able to buy the bottom of the stock market. And so let's overlay our indicator on the daily chart. And we had a delayed signal, but what we're going to do now is keep that horizontal line in, and let's see how we got a very, very low risk entry back in January, 2 months ago on this chart. So let's get onto the 15-minute chart. Let's go back in time, and just before we do, let's briefly look at our chart because we are seeing a break higher. There we go. So price is coming up in the first area, and there was our bounce off the moving averages. There's our bullish engulfing candle. Price is still going up, but we are looking for it possibly to come up to this green horizontal line. This is how we are just pausing at the previous place where price rejected from. Remember, support and resistance is where price will make a decision. Okay, so we're just going to say that. We're going to have a quick look at the questions, and then we'll go back to the higher time frame. Mike, when enter a trade, it doesn't show me the markers for a stop loss. Okay, what you need to do is right click on your chart, go to settings, and then you need to click positions and orders. Positions and orders, and then if you have a buy, that will show up on your chart. Okay, so look at that. Because that was the first place where price rejected from, that's where price is pausing again. That's a high. That's a short-term resistance point. Okay, so that's our trade. Let's go back to the daily chart. Let's go back in time. Here's our horizontal line. Did our indicator give us a good buy signal at the low of the stock market? It sure did. So there's our low. This is on a 50-minute time frame. As you can see, there's our support. Where's the bounce? Right there, bang. And look at the buying at that level. Huge green candles indicating a lot of buyers. There's our entry there. There's our blue buy signal telling us we should buy. What happens at that point? The market just goes straight up. So if we held that position, and if we are swing traders, or we're holding for weeks or months, we put our risk in, and we're not just making 10% over a year. If we risk, well, it depends on how you have your stop. If we just go out to the high, let's have a look. Let's just say we held on until our previous resistance, and we saw price turning around. On a higher time, we're making about almost 8 to 1. So you're not just making you're not making 8% over a year, you're making 8% over a month, and that's conservative. That's from January to February, price coming up to here. Now, why did price stop there? Let's just zoom out a little bit and have a look. It was probably a place of resistance. Let's put the line in. Price stopped at that region up here. Let's zoom out again. Yeah, look at that. Of course it would stop there. There's the line I put in there. And sure enough, that's where price had an intense rejection from in the past. And why did price reject there? Well, in the past, that was also a floor. And a floor there. And resistance here. Okay. Hope you guys can see the power of this. This is just basic charting. This is just simple stuff. The real power of this is when we learn to get good entries on lower timeframes. And once we learn to understand the market structure on higher timeframes, then most of us are actually trading off 1 minute charts. And that allows us to, get 10 times our reward. So here's our trade moving up. Now, while we just look at this and wait for the market to open in 5 minutes, does anyone have any questions? Carolyn, are the trading times it gave us applicable to trading BTC? So Bitcoin is slightly different. Again, the Bitcoin market will open 24/7. It doesn't close. And here's price moving up into our region right now. You have to remember that when the markets open, Carolyn or Caroline, I think it's Caroline. Okay, whoever has access to my screen, please stop drawing because that was not me.
Sorry, that was me. I was trying to do some notes myself, but I think I've done the wrong thing.
All right, thank you. If you
How do
can
I get
delete
rid of
that,
it?
that would be amazing. Just right click on it and delete it. Click it, right click and delete. Thank you. So for Bitcoin, when the market opens at the beginning of the week, on Monday morning or Sunday afternoon, if you live in the United States or North America, there will be a lot of volatility. So when the market opens, you will be a lot of buying and selling, and then price will stabilize throughout the day. But as far as the market opening for London and for New York, you will also have volatility for the first hour or so. And Jay recommends waiting for at least an hour until the market begins to stabilize itself. So I would suggest if you are long in this trade, possibly taking out profit. I'm not saying you should, but I'm saying we have 5 minutes to the open here where London will open, and we might start to see a little bit of action. Notice how price is rejecting back down now, but let's watch and see what happens. And so not only do we have these green horizontal lines and red ones on the indicator itself, which is what Jay created, and then obviously he has a live trading class every morning. He trades the New York Open every single morning with thousands of students from all around the world. And we will be trading this in New Zealand shortly for at least maybe 3, maybe 4 times a week. We're going to work on that. Not only does it show on the indicator, but as you learn to get a bigger, more comprehensive picture of how the market is working, you can say, hey, look, I want to create my own portfolio. I'm going to zoom out to a 4-hour chart or a daily chart, and I'm going to learn to buy the stock market at these levels. You can either buy to invest or buy to trade. And I'm going to learn how to get this reward to risk. I'm going to learn how to sell once price, rejects off this area here. I'm going to learn how once I see that rejection, I'm going to sell that and make 5 to 1. And it's just an amazing way when you learn to understand the psychology behind why buyers and sellers do what they do. It puts a whole new spin on how you use your money, because the way that the game is played is that everything that is propagated by the talking heads in the news, you should actually do the opposite of that. Every time the banks say something's worthless, you should be buying as much of that as you can. And every time they say it's the top of the market, it has a long way to go. So does anyone have any questions? That's a bit of support and resistance for those who've been in the bootcamp already. You will know and identify these green and red lines, and you will know that we are looking for confirmation. We had a couple of nice sell signals earlier because the 50-minute chart was down. Now, for those of you who are joining us, we do not take every blue arrow as a buy, and we do not take every red as a sell. They are not all created equal. Some of them do not have other conditions that need to be met. So just because there's 2 buys here and 3 sells, we are not trading all of those. Okay, there's other conditions that need to be met in trading the strategy. When the last condition was met here, we absolutely had a sell, price came down. We had another sell because the downtrend was confirmed and price went down again. And now we have a bottom confirmed, which we see down here. Now we are only looking to take the buy signals. And that's why I took that buy entry, and that's why we were able to take profit. Okay, question from Andrew. Is it okay to take trades while the market is closed? Well, you actually can't take trades when the market's closed on most brokers. They won't let you because they will actually reposition their prices. But as the market is closing, a lot of people are withdrawing their money. So there is a lot more volatility because there is less liquidity in the market. So you get a lot more erratic moves. And a good example of that is what happened, is what happened on Friday night when the market closes. I'll show you what it looks like. You get these big swings here like this. And if you don't know what you're doing, then you get stopped out. So because there's less money in the market moves a lot more and it's a lot more erratic. And a lot of brokers will not let you into trades when the market is closed because they are working on how to take your money away from you. Obviously, the crypto markets never close. They're open 24/7. The indices, the stock markets, they close every day at 4:30 or 5. And the currency markets are open 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, and they close for the weekend. All right, so we have 1 minute away from the European market opening. So London is opening, and let's see what sort of price reaction we get. Now, the beauty of this is we've already made our money for the day, and we're finished, or we've made our money for the night, and we can go to bed. But the London market is just opening up. So if you were a trader in London, if you got up an hour early, you've already made your money before 9 o'clock. You bought the buy, and you can go back to bed if you want, or you can go out and play golf. You've made your money. Okay, so here's the clock on the left, 30 seconds till the market opens. Let's see what the market wants to do. Again, we have marked our high, and we want to see what sort of reaction we're going to get at that high today. The sellers could jump in because we've had a strong downtrend into the weekend. I'll show you that downtrend. A lot of selling and a lot of buying back into resistance. Notice that this is resistance right now. We have not fully broken through it yet. Okay, that's where our yellow line is. So we need to break through that definitively before confirming the uptrend is going to keep going. All right, so here's the open. There we go. Price is moving up into our zone. If you're not taking profit already, great place to take profit because this is where price is going to make a decision. Now, it's, as I often say to our students, it's not a wall, but it's a zone. There we go. Boom, right into that yellow market, right off our green line. This is a live market. This is tradingview.com with the NAS 100. Look at that bounce right off that green line. You can take your profit. Thank you very much. And let me just remove that zone so you can see exactly what's happening. It's now taking out all the stops above this level and just smashes right through. Boom. There we go. Is there any one of our students who are still long in this trade? I actually am long on my other platform. And I'll just bring it down and show you. So you can see I am long as well on my other broker. And I'm going to hold those positions for hopefully much higher up. Keep running. In fact, I'm just going to move my stops up. Give me a second. Okay. Great. Okay, so how do I do this? How do I maximize this? Just give me a second. Okay, so as you can see, this is a live account. This is live. This is real money. Here's my trade down here, another trade down there. and we are in the money. So give me just a second. I'm just going to manage this trade. I am just going to move my stops up to break even. Hang on. It's a live trade. Stops are not break even, so I can't lose. Okay, beautiful. Now, this particular first entry that was taken down here. Here's my entry here. 5 pip stop. If I was still in this trade, if I risk 1%, I just made 7% on that trade. Risk reward 7 to 1. I risked 1% to make 7, or I risked $100 to make $700. And that's by understanding support and resistance and when a trend is beginning. And if you can learn to identify the beginning of the trend, then you can hold your trade for the entirety of the trend. Okay, now let's just zoom out. This is where it gets exciting, because if we zoom out now, it looks like we may have broken this key level that we identified before. Remember this yellow line? Remember how it rejected back here? Let's just zoom out. Remember how it rejected from this area and had the huge run up? Let me just remove the indicator. And it rejected from here twice in the past. Rejected here. This is an hourly chart now. This is going back for a month. We are now pushing above that level. So if we look to the left, where is our next possible resistance now? Well, it could be somewhere up here. This is where price rejected from on the 23rd of February. This is where price could gravitate to. We're looking to the left. If we go down to a 5-minute chart, it's a long way from where we are now. And I'm going to, wow, look at that. That thing is flying. There's my take profit. I'm going to move it higher because we might get up there quickly. So as you can see, we're a long way up on that trade, but we have a long way to roll as well. So here's my entry down here. And if price gets up there, it might not, it might reject from this gap. For those of our students, we have a gap right here. That is the first place where price will pause. But let's say if we got up to the high, we're making 30 to 1 on our position. I'm just going to close out one of my trades now and let the other one run. So that's, if it gets up there over the next day, 2 days, 3 days, we're risking 1% to make 30%. We're risking $100 to make 3,000. Okay, now for those of you, and I'm going to keep this short, for those of you who have been taking our bootcamp and going through all the courses in our academy, you'll see that we have this gap here, and price exploded down out of this gap. Now, a gap means there's an imbalance in price in the market. There's an imbalance, which means there are no buyers, there are only sellers. When price comes up to that zone, it will often pause at that zone. So we're at the beginning of the gap. We should actually fill the gap. And again, I just want to clarify what I'm saying. You will see that there is no candle in this area here. There is a gap in price. Often price will come up and fill that gap in the next 24 hours. Okay, so we have now confirmed that we've broken above resistance. How do we know it's confirmed? Because this candle, which represents 5 minutes of price, has now closed above. It is now closed. This confirms this level for now is invalidated and we are moving higher. There we go. And that is a live trade. Perfect timing. We managed to see everything. Now, are there any questions? I think there are. Okay. All right. There's a lot of things here. Okay, you were long. Take profit was hit. Marie, you got out. Yep, Lisa, you can do it. You can 10x your trading account. Absolutely. Stop got nicked. You 10x your account. That's amazing, Lisa. It's incredible. Well done. Yeah, awesome stuff. And this is just simply learning to identify the market structure of price and learning to identify support and resistance. It's very simple. Identify support and resistance, look for the turnaround in the trend. And obviously we have our buy signal here, which tells us this is the time we want to be looking for a buy, and price explodes to the upside. Okay, so I'm not going to keep everyone all night. We do have another night tomorrow. We're going to go deeper. We're going to look at a whole lot more advanced things that everyone, I'm sure, will find very, very insightful around how we manage our risk and how we can grow and compound account very, very quickly. But apart from that, I am going to give it back to Ty, and he is going to maybe give us a bit of an insight on what we can look at, what we can expect tomorrow night, and where we're going to go from here. So thanks very much, Ty.
Bro, seriously, that was outstanding. The way that you're able to educate, execute live trades from start to finish, all while our students are also 10xing their account on the side. Shout out to Lisa, man. As for those of you watching on Facebook, I know we've got a stack there watching live, and some of you are going to be watching the recording on either YouTube or Facebook, but we've got a large amount here on Zoom, and just some of our team busy capitalizing on that. But Mike, thank you so much. That was wonderful. Thank you for going over support and resistance again, since I dropped the ball and didn't record session 2. So this is technically session 2, but session 11. So guys, once again, for all of our guests that are joining us for the first time this evening, thank you so much for your time. I trust that was of value for you. And at the same time, if you have questions, if some of this went over your head, that's completely okay, especially if you're brand new to the space. Obviously, when you start this journey with us at a deeper level, it's methodical. There's structured stuff that touches on everything. Like I said, we're on session 11 tonight, just taking this particular strategy deeper for everyone in our team. But yeah, tomorrow night's gonna be electric. We're gonna go over what you saw Mike doing tonight with placing actual trades. We're going to show you what it looks like to do that yourself. Inside, we're going to demo a little bit more about what it looks like to set up your own demo account inside of TradingView, that website you're watching this evening. So you can literally click a few buttons and start to do exactly what you just saw tonight. And then from there, you can be like, oh, okay, this is how I actually do this. Then we're also going to show you something called the gate system, which is by far probably the most profound document or spreadsheet you will ever see for how you can take what you have and multiply it. And yeah, it's put together by an educator we follow closely over the last year called James Leone, brilliant man based in the UK who's been trading for I think 17 years now and educating for about 10. And he was an accountant beforehand, so he put all that accounting skills to work on the spreadsheet. And when you see it and when you understand it, it really is quite profound. So guys, it's almost 10 past 9. Really want to honor all of your time this evening. But yeah, same place, same time tomorrow night. And if you got value, then think of anyone else you can share this with and invite them tomorrow night. And yeah, bless you all. Have an incredible one. And we'll see the rest of our team in the chat. And for those of you on Facebook, thanks for tuning in. And yeah, guys, let me end the stream so that can stop. But yeah, thanks everyone. Have an incredible night.